Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tabitha, and here is my latest installment of the COVID-19 Chronicles here in Germany. As you can see, the hairdressers are open again in Germany, and I took advantage of it to finally get the ends cut. It was looking kind of crazy for a while there. So, we've been looking at how things are kind of unraveling in the United States and here in Germany as well. Despite the fact that a lot of things are opening and things are becoming more normal, people are going back to work and a lot of events have been canceled. So my whole music events for this summer are all canceled. Nothing is happening this summer, but hairdressers are open, shopping malls are open, and people are starting to be able to go out again. So why are people acting like they're in a new police state? Why are people so hysterical about having to wear a cloth mask? All over the place, all over Germany, all over the United States, people are just taking to the streets and protesting that they have to wear a little face mask. This is my latest little face mask. I have been sewing them for Lebenshilfe. And it goes over your face, and you can wear this on the train, and you take it off. Voila, no problem, right? Well, people are getting hysterical. So, let's see if there's a historic precedent for this. Every 100 years or so, there seems to be another epidemic. And epidemics are quite common, more common than you may think. One reason a lot of people were skeptical about COVID-19 was because the last few years we've had so many scary warnings about SARS, the swine flu. Then there was the bird flu. There have been so many of these, and every time they tell us it might kill all of us, and of course we survive. It's like the boy who cried wolf. So of course we were all very skeptical about this, especially since at the beginning we heard, well, it's like a bad flu. Well, guess who had more information about this and didn't share with us? That's right, Donald Trump. Apparently, being president means that you are privy to information the rest of us aren't. Donald Trump was warned back in January that this was not just a bad flu, but that didn't stop him from giving us bad information. So let's look at how people dealt with these pandemics in the past. The Plague of Athens, 430 BC. The devastating plague of Athens in ancient Greece killed around 75,000 to 100,000 people during the Peloponnesian War. It also sparked uprisings, lawless behavior, and chaos among citizens, resulting in rigid government enforcements and the collapse of Athenian democracy. Well, does that sound familiar? How about this? The Black Death of the 14th century Europe that took place between 1346 and 1353. And it was circulated by rats. Of course, that didn't keep people from creating conspiracy theories, blaming Jewish people, claiming that some elitists were poisoning the water. Does that sound familiar? How about this? The Russian plague of 1771. From 1770 to 1772, between 50,000 and 100,000 people lost their lives in Moscow. It all began in December 1770 when the Moscow General Hospital's chief physician, Dr. Shafansky, reported a case of the bubonic plague. But of course, public health officials were skeptical and dismissive. The national government was slow to respond until eventually they had to send military guards to the hospital to enforce a quarantine. The disease was spreading and Moscow officials began to implement protocols. Unfortunately, they waited too late. By September, the outbreak had killed an estimated 1,000 Moscow residents a day, and 20,000 were confirmed dead that month alone. By then, 3/4 of Moscow's population had fled the city. On September 15, 1771, the plague riot broke out as residents revolted against the state and authorities, convinced it was a government conspiracy. The last big plague we had in our part of the world, in Western Europe and in the United States, was of course the Spanish flu. This was just after World War I, and people were in a patriotic mood, so they didn't have any huge rebellions against the government. However, the government sort of took it easy. They didn't really make any drastic moves, and a lot of people died. So there is this sort of balance between going too far, restricting people, and putting people under quarantine, and then having people freak out, or not doing enough, and then what happens? Millions of people die. People are asking, are women better leaders than men? It seems like female leaders and heads of state are doing a much better job at dealing with the coronavirus. There's of course Merkel here in Germany, Erna Solberg in Norway, Mette Frederiksen in Denmark, Sanna Marin from Finland, and Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand. Of course, compared to these right-wing populists like Trump and Bolsonaro and Johnson, it's easy to say, well, you know, being female helps you. Maybe women are more motherly. I have my own opinion about this. Actually, my theory is that we do expect a lot more from female politicians than male politicians. To be a woman in a man's business, you've got to be a lot tougher and a lot better. So I think that the mediocre female politicians won't make it to the top. It's not really based on your genitals, it's based on whether you're the better candidate. Let's look at what's really going on here. I mean, the politicians who are doing a good job are proactive. They have a plan in place. You can either be proactive, you can be hysterical, or you can just react, be reactive and just try and contain things after things are out of control. And that's what's happening here. But it's hard to not believe there's some sort of international stupidity competition between countries that are just doing a really bad job of managing things. We saw how Boris Johnson said this is all nonsense, he doesn't believe in the coronavirus, and then of course he got the coronavirus. Then there's Trump, who also said, well, you know, we got it under control and it's just gonna go away like magic. That didn't happen. But what we're actually seeing among the people, the population, is something we can really expect based on what we've seen in history. People are going through these typical stages of grief, and after the initial shock and fear reaction and maybe cooperation and bargaining, we get to this stage of anger. People are angry. Some people have lost their jobs, some people have lost their loved ones, but some people have just lost their sense of security, that they could just walk down the street and do whatever they want, whenever they want, and life will just be normal. Maybe this is really something that people have to go through before they get to a final stage of acceptance. So what is happening though is that populists and right-wingers and even maybe some left-wing people are misusing this anger and misusing it to gain power, to promote their own agenda. We have to keep in mind that emotions just exist the way they are. There aren't any good and bad emotions, and judging people for their emotions isn't going to help. The best thing for the government to do is to allow people to constructively express their emotions and their feelings, to acknowledge this, but we can't let emotions take over. We can't let our emotions rule us. Emotional repression feeds populism and conspiracy theories. But let's ask ourselves, what is a conspiracy theory after all? And is everything that people are saying, is it always a conspiracy theory? They are trying to push for a vaccination as soon as possible. Are they going to test to see the possible effects on unborn babies? If a pregnant woman takes this, are they going to test this on the whole population? Maybe certain people will have bad side effects. If you're worried about vaccinations and being forced to take some kind of dangerous vaccination that hasn't been adequately tested, well then that's not a conspiracy theory. That's just being a logical person. But there are some really strange conspiracy theories out there, and what is it about conspiracy theories and why do people want to believe in them? That's something I touched on last time. Today I'd like to talk some more about it. First of all, as I said last time, conspiracy theories simplify complex problems. We are all frightened and we're all looking for simple answers. And a simple answer is more satisfying than saying, well, we don't know yet. We're still studying this. This is complex, this is difficult, and it's even confusing some of the scientists and doctors. The second thing about conspiracy theories is that they tend to be very fatalistic. There's some secret organization controlling our lives, there's nothing we can do about it, and it's all about some all-powerful group that work together. In the real world, we have seen that it's very, very hard for people even with the same beliefs and the same motivations and the same goals to work together. Just look at how hard it is to get the EU to work. If all of these people can work together, couldn't they have made the Brexit work? I think this is a substitute for religion. Some people want to believe that there's some sort of force controlling the universe, but they consider themselves too sophisticated to believe in religion, so Bill Gates is like their version of Jesus. He knows everything, he does everything he wants to. Yeah, he's like Santa Claus, except he makes your computer crash. If Bill Gates were as smart as these people thought he was, wouldn't he have made some better products? There's a reason why I never use Windows. The last thing is, it feels good for people to be in the know. This is an ego trip. I've seen this in America in some fundamentalist churches, and they will say, we are the true church. The other churches are all wrong, and if you join our group, you're one of the special ones. You're one of the ones who's really in the know. So that's what's happening with these conspiracy theorists. They have their own little special group. They're the ones who were enlightened, and you're one of the stupid sheep. I tried having a conversation with a friend of mine online. She was promoting some weird conspiracy theories. I asked a few questions and I posted my video. Well, she deleted that and she said, I'm trying to enlighten people. She said, well, I'm a spiritual person. And I said, well, I'm also a spiritual person. I believe in God. But I don't believe that Hillary Clinton is drinking baby's blood. I think Hillary can actually afford to drink really good French Merlot, like I get. But this is the kind of conspiracy theory that was very popular in the past, especially during the time of the Black Plague. At the time, they claimed that Jews were killing babies and drinking their blood. And today we're hearing that supposedly the reptile people are ruling the world. Bill Gates is drinking babies' blood to stay young forever. Hillary's murdering babies. I think this appeals to people who feel like they're not one of the elites too. Billionaires like Ted Turner and Bloomberg own and control the media. Rupert Murdoch controls a lot of media, including Fox News. These people are running the world, and we don't have much to say. So feeling like you're one of the in-group who knows what it's all about makes you feel good. And the funny thing is they do use a pinch of truth. Of course we know that some people have a lot of power. That's true. But guess what? Even an ordinary person like me can have some influence. You could become politically active. You do have a chance to talk to legislators. You could send them an email and tell them your concerns. Pessimistic. This is another thing they all have in common. The world is evil, people are evil, and there's nothing we can do about it. But the people who take part in this conspiracy theory see themselves as heroic. So there's this narrative of absolute good and absolute evil, which is very simplistic also. It's also a way for people to see themselves as heroes and see themselves as part of something bigger. In a conspiracy, people are looking for a hero to tell them what to do, to tell them right from wrong. And when you follow heroes, you aren't responsible for your own behavior. You don't have to think for yourself. Somebody else tells you what to believe. These people all claim to be free thinkers, but if you try to convince them they're wrong using facts, they won't listen to you. And that's the last thing we have to recognize about conspiracy theories. It's not about facts, it's about feelings. People feeling like, ooh, the world, I don't understand the world anymore. It's so confusing and scary. I need to find a way to understand this so it's not so scary. And I want to feel like I'm one of the good people. I want to make sure that I'm the one who's right. I know what to do. I'm one of the smart ones. I'm not one of the stupid sheep. You see, people are actually searching for affirmation. They're searching for comfort. They're frightened and they want something that makes sense. And it's very hard for politicians to strike the right chord nowadays, because if you just make fun of people and say, oh, these people are idiots, then you're making the problem worse. And there are some concerns, like I said, about the safety of vaccines or about what's the right way to deal with this. Me personally, I think the best thing to do is stay in as much as possible. Make sure you eat healthy food. Make sure you're not smoking or overeating. Make sure you go outside and get some fresh air and exercise. I'm in Rheinhessen, where we've got some of the best wine in the world. So drink up and enjoy. And remember, don't believe all the crap you see on social media. Remember that any person in the world can make a YouTube video. So stay safe and remember to click like and subscribe down below. Thanks.